If you love best ball, you are in the right place. Hot best ball summer is here. Best Ball Mania 5. I'm your host, Liam Murphy, the only 3-time NFL best ball champion. Let's get it, gang. Thank you so much for everyone for being here. Wouldn't want to be any other place. So, Best Ball Mania 5 is here. The Drafters Championship is here. FFPC Best Ball is here. But today we're talking about Best Ball Mania 5, the main tournament in Best Ball land. Underdog has changed Best Ball Mania 5. Of course, we're professionals over here. We're not going to jump right into the draft without talking about the structure, talking about the change. So, last year, first place was $3 million. The year before, first place was $2 million. This year, first place is $1.5 million, which, if you're counting at home, is less than the past 2 years. However, if you get a team to the finals, which is the top 539 teams, you are profiting no matter how many entries you do. If you do 150 entries, that's $3,750. If you get to the finals, you're getting that money back. 50 people will be getting $25,000. 40 people are winning life-changing money, $50K. That's incredible. 30 people, $75K. 20 people, $100K. There will be 20 people winning $100,000 this year in Best Ball Mania. And the payouts are very flat at the top. I think it's a great change. You know, quote unquote casual people like to talk about them, people who do a couple entries. I think they love this too. They see the $1.5 million, they're into it. They see seventh place gets $200K, they're into it. A lot of these casual people, quote unquote, I think they accept that, hey, if we don't get a team to the finals, whatever, I lose my money. So they're going to be stoked. Anyone who gets a team to the finals, the top 539 teams, will be stoked. It is top 2 out of 12 make the playoffs. 13-person group, week 15. Top 1 advances. 16-person group, week 16. Top 1 advances. 539-person final. So, with that being said, let's jump into the draft. Now, I was hard at work on my best ball site that I am launching. And I had everything ready. I had my ranks ready. I have 3 articles written. I have so many things ready. Unfortunately, I misclicked on my payment provider and selected an option that got my account shut down. So now I'm dealing with that. So, Hot Best Ball Summer is here. I'm in the lobby right now. It's probably already full. People are hungry for these drafts. 2 more people. If you are looking forward to my site for what I hope to be the best ranks in the business, hits such as Kyron Williams last year, that is coming soon. I got a free article that will be coming on the site. I pulled the 102 today. I'm stoked, guys. We're on the road to 5K. Big part of you. You guys are essential for me to hit that. Help me out. Click the subscribe button if you enjoy this content. And let's get this first Best Ball Mania 5 draft of the summer. Let's go. Let's go. The ADP is wild. Yes. You know, one of my articles is focusing on should you draft early? Not going to spoil too much about that, but I have an article solely focused on that. I have an article about getting unique at top of drafts. I have an article about the market change. That's a key one for year to year. This is my first live stream MVP. That's what I said. So the 102 wouldn't want to be any other place. You know, CeeDee Lamb I think it's arguable he's the 101. So I think a lot of people have been going CMC. I would happily take CD Lamb. I'd happily take CMC. I'd happily take Jamar Chase. But we will go CD Lamb. I mean, on a previous best ball draft I did, someone asked, is it chasing to, are we just copy and pasting what happened last year to take CD Lamb at the 102? Well, no, because I get their sentiment, right? CD Lamb blew up week 17. However, he escaped the draft with very questionable target competition yet again, and an increased O-line, right? If we look at this Cowboys depth chart, you got another year older Brandon Cooks. Michael Gallup is not on the team. Jake Ferguson, probably the favorite to be the second most targeted player. Jalen Tolbert is in the mix for the slot. Some of these other guys are in the mix for the slot. Maybe Luke Schumacher gets a little bit of run, gets go. Of course, Zeke is back on the team. Rico Dowdle is on the team, so that's their running back pairing. But yeah, I thought the Cowboys should have prioritized getting another legit target on their team, but they didn't. Brandon Cooks, a good player, but yeah, it's pretty much just the Lamb show. This is my third draft in total. I did do 2 earlier. MVP Sports trying to be the I gotcha guy. He got me, guys. He got me. The best ball guy did a couple best ball drafts earlier. I didn't stream them. Cheers, brother. Cheers. Oh, man. What are my thoughts on Neighbors? Guys, get the questions in. Get the questions in. My thoughts on Neighbors is, it's kind of like Lamb, where the dude should be seeing probably at least 150 targets. So I'm into him. My first one was from the 2 spot as well, actually. Tolan, welcome back, brother. Let's get it. If you are not, by the way, the link to join my Discord is in the YouTube description below. Make sure you join there if you want to talk best ball, get notified when any of my streams go live, and so forth. Kyron Williams is a player with a lot of variance for where he goes. So same thing with Devin Achane. I'm into both of them. Sorry, Bobby. You're going to have to wait for the article. I will have a free article. It's a very cool article. Technically, the site is live right now, but I just can't accept payment, so I'm not going to socialize it. If you can guess the URL, good for you. All right, we're on the clock here. A very chalky pairing. We'll be going double Houston, Nico Diggs, Nico Tank, something like that. I like Neighbors. I like Mike Evans. We will go Nico Collins, though. Why not? We'll go a little bit chalky here to start. I'm into all the Texans wide receivers. Tank Dell did get shot at a nightclub. If you missed that, I would not double dock him for that. Love Mike Evans. Love DJ Moore. Like Josh Allen here. Come on, we got to go Josh here. I've gone pretty wide receiver heavy. Josh is another player with a lot of variance. He went pick 40 in my first draft. That is the 4th round. I am expecting over the course of the summer that his ADP will slide a little bit to close in there, which is a benefit if he's not going to be usually going around this pick. Do I plan to go Josh Allen there every time? Definitely not, right? I think the quarterback value later in the draft is huge. But maybe that means it will be harder for Josh to get to the playoffs. In what round are we taking Keon Coleman, and why is it the first? Yeah, I mean, Keon Coleman is a first-team personality right out of the gate. If you haven't seen Keon Coleman, new Buffalo Bills wide receiver, if you haven't seen his press conferences, I highly recommend you check in there. He's just like a walking quote machine. Seems like he's an hilarious individual, saying all the right things. Yeah, I plan to have articles on kind of these ambiguous situations, and I think the Bills wide receiver room checks that box, right? You got Curtis Samuel, you got Keon Coleman, you got Dalton Kincaid, you got Khalil Shakir. I think it's feasible. Literally any of them could lead the team in targets. What's more likely is they'll each have their weeks, right? The running backs are not in the way. But if someone is going to emerge as the clear number one, it's probably Kincaid or Coleman, right? These are first round picks. They just have more draft capital. Curtis Samuel, he's a separator. He can do something that not everyone else in that room can do, in the fact that he's fast. Khalil Shakir, not too slow himself. It's not 100% clear to me who will be the outside wide receiver opposite of Coleman, right? So the assumption right now is you have Coleman on the outside, for sure. You got Kincaid playing slot / tight end / outside wide receiver himself sometimes. You got Curtis Samuel mostly in the slot. And Shakir, who has historically been a slot, but I think Khalil Shakir can play outside some. So, could Khalil Shakir be the wide receiver one in Buffalo? Unlikely, but not impossible, right? Like, the guy has straight out balled. I think he's a huge winner from the draft, with the Bills only adding Coleman, right? They got rid of Gabe Davis. They got rid of Steph Diggs. They added Coleman. They added Curtis Samuel. Is it possible that Matt Collins plays blocking wideout? Sure, yes. Little trick of the trade for those who are in the draft streets. Some rookies are priced up, right? A guy like Xavier Worthy, he's going in the 6th round most of the time. Other rookies, not so much. But Coleman, not a fast guy. I've watched some content on him, so I'm willing to forgive him on that a little bit. But there can be, there's possibilities he disappoints for sure. But, I'm thinking he's going to be a touchdown guy. Travis Kelce just did sign a 2-year extension with the Chiefs. That's a pretty strong signal for him. I think with us going Josh here, there's no reason to fool around. We'll just take Kincaid here. We'll get our stack. Opinions on Kincaid are pretty wide. I think Kincaid is a winner of the draft. I think McBride, Kelce, Kincaid, Andrews, Pitts. There's not a huge reason these guys should be a full round cheaper than Laporta. I get why Laporta goes ahead. I really do like the elite tight ends in general. There will be an article on that as well. With this pick, we could go Rashee Rice. I like Amari Cooper as well, but we're going to go Christian Kirk. I think Christian Kirk was a strong winner of the draft. They added Brian Thomas Jr., who kind of does what Gabe Davis does. He kind of does what Zay Jones does. But he is more just basically faster. And I think he can run more routes than them. But no one really does what Christian Kirk does. No one really works the middle of the field like him. It is nice that we get a little bit of a division stack with Nico and Kirk, both in the AFC South. Bobby, the only highlight I'll give you from the article is a lot of people will blindly follow what worked last year, and that's flat out insane for several reasons, which I lay out in the article. But yes. James Cook and Rashad White both seem like strong picks, but also both saw added competition in the draft, which honestly was to be expected for both players. Ray Davis lands with Buffalo. He seems like a souped up Latavius Murray. Bucky Irving lands with the Bucks. What I know about Bucky Irving is he is a pass catcher, but didn't crush his athletic testing by any means. With Kyren, I think some people are going to discount him for the fact that the Rams drafted a running back in the third round, Blake Corum. But that doesn't really, what does that mean? It makes Kyren a little bit more risky. But does that mean that Kyren could not just be the lead back again, get all the touches, get all the touchdowns, and again perform like not only a first round pick, but closer to a 101, 102, 103 in the draft? Absolutely, right? Sean McVay has not historically been a guy who's shared the touches too much in his running back room. Now, Kyren got too many touches last year, right? Like, he got too many touches to remain healthy for his build, in my opinion. And so I think it could even be a positive that you have a guy who could spell him a little bit. Is it possible that Blake Corum is really good and surpasses Kyren, and Kyren is a total bust of pick? Absolutely. And that's true for literally almost any running back in the draft, not named Bijan, not named CMC, not named Breece Hall, probably not named JT. Doesn't mean his upside is any different, though. Okay, we are next here. Several players to like. I'm going to go... Evan Ingram. I think Ingram also works the middle of the field, unlike many of their wide receiver selections. I do like double tapping tight end. I was close between Brock and him. And running back, I really feel like I can find value later in the draft at the current moment. Wide receiver is also tempting for me there, but we have other plans. I have no idea what you mean by this. All right, we're going to take David Montgomery as our RB1. The Lions did add, I don't even know if this player is being reported as a running back. Okay, he is. So Sion Vaki played safety and running back in college. However, he was announced by the Lions as a running back. So he went, I actually don't remember what round he went in, because on the site I used to look up where players got drafted, like most sites have him listed as safety, but Underdog did it right and had him as running back. However, I feel like David Montgomery is quote unquote safe to just, attach to a really good team, attached to and should hold the goal line role pretty strong. I was considering Christian Watson there, who I would not say is a safe pick, but does have a bunch of upside at a position that gets scarce quick. I don't think Brian Thomas Jr. in the 6th round. I don't know. I have to think about that one. The Jags room is just weird, where it's like Zay Jones probably is the loser there if everyone's healthy. I would assume Gabe and Brian are the outside wideouts with Kirk and Ingram. But we'll have to see. Tolan asking how I'm going to play the Chicago pass catchers. I mean, I want to draft them. I think Caleb Williams has a real chance to do what Pat Mahomes did his rookie year. Of course, Mahomes, he's not going to do exactly. I mean, not Mahomes played his second year, but his first year playing. Mahomes, I think, threw something insane like 50 touchdowns that year. But sorry, guys. Which Caleb is certainly not going to do. But I think Caleb will be the first Bears quarterback to throw for over 4,000 yards. I think the Bears could make the playoffs. Like, I think I would bet them to make the playoffs with their roster. And I've seen a lot of people comp Rome Odunze to Jackson Smith-Njigba, which is nonsensical to me. Rome, first off, got way higher draft capital, right? He went number 9 overall in the draft. And JSN, he had an electric 3-cone time, but he went later in the draft than we expected, right? He slid to 20th to the Seahawks. And I mean, with Keenan, right? Like, Keenan could fall apart this year. I don't know. And if I'm Caleb and I'm deciding who I'm going to build my, who am I going to build a closer bond with, Keenan Allen or the dude who I'm going to play with for the next decade in Rome, it's probably going to be Rome for me. What's my predicted ADP for Jonathan Brooks for September 1st? Obviously, a little bit of that depends on Miles Sanders. I think Miles Sanders and Khalil Herbert are 2 running backs in crowded rooms right now who could land with the Cowboys. As we talk about him, he goes there. Let's make a pick first. Curtis Samuel's there. He obviously works for our team. Adonai Mitchell is here. The running backs as well. We'll just take Curtis here. I think Curtis is the most expensive Bills wide receiver because of safety reasons at the current point in time. I don't know if that's what we should be doing, but I mean, the guy is a good wideout. Thank you, Best Ball Meat Gazer. He says, this is what it must be like watching Michelangelo paint the Sistine Chapel. Appreciate you, man. Lockett could have fallen apart last year too. Yeah, but the point is that Rome is comfortably a better wideout than JSN was. All right. I wouldn't say this is 100% necessary. However, I did do 2 drafts earlier, and oh god, he's already gone. Phew. Keon Coleman already went when I was not paying attention. He went in the 8th round at pick 88. So he went ahead of Curtis. He went ahead of Shakir. We will settle for Kincaid, Curtis, and Shakir stacked up with Josh. We obviously have the possibility with going Kirk and Ingram to set up Trevor Lawrence later. Running backs, there's a ton of running backs to like. Do I like Zamir White? Yeah, I like him. Do I like Jonathan Brooks? Yes, I like him. Swift? Yes. Tony Pollard? Yes. Will those guys score more points than Curtis and Khalil? Probably most of them will score points than at least one of them. However, we're building our stacks. We're going to just build out our running back room later with volume and hope that, okay, we have an elite wideout in CD. We have a wideout who should have a bunch of touchdowns in Nico, right? But he's part of a crowded room. Kirk is not part of, like, I think Kirk will be 160 points or so. And then at least one of Curtis or Khalil will be a success there. Vadim said I predicted Liam would draft Bills. Just call me Nostradamus. I had to do it for my first stream draft, but in my first two drafts, I actually didn't too much. Other than, because I think a benefit of drafting the first day is you're kind of playing chicken with the other people who are paying attention, as far as like Keon Coleman's ADP is like 140 right now, right? Let's get what it is. It's 138. So I know that. Maybe Joe Schmo, who just kind of jumped in, doesn't know that, but I'm sure some other people know that as well. And so Toasty Face did the opposite. He's like, fuck it, give me him at pick 88. Me, however, I was like, okay, I think he's going to close around here, right? He might close 8th. He might close 9th, depending on how training camp reports go. But I'm going to try to take advantage of the first day, and I'm going to try to get him in the 10th. I'm going to try to get him in the 11th. I would have taken him here in the 9th, probably, up in a room. Meet Glazer. Hey, that's what I thought it was, but his username is clearly Gazer. Out of US FOMO, that's tough, man. That's tough. But Yost Devil says, Meet Gazer is the best gimmick account in best ball. Yeah, he's active in the Discord. You do see a lot of quarterbacks go in these rounds. The ones that interest me the most currently, Kyler, Caleb, Brock, Jaden Daniels, right? Like, it's very confusing to me how the market has been like, yep, we saw 3 games of Anthony Richardson. He is quarterback 5 or whatever. But Jaden Daniels, who we know is going to run the rock, let's price him at quarterback 14. I would buy that. I would buy that guy. It's my recommendation there. Right? He doesn't even have to be that good. Yeah, right. So like what Toasty Yace is doing here is he's just taking rookies. Now I got Ricky Pearsall at pick like 150, right? So again, his ADP might get here, but I would not fully recommend this strategy because, I mean, how much higher can he climb? Not that much higher. So you're kind of like fighting the purpose of drafting early, where you're trying to get unique ADPs and whatnot, by mega reaching on players, even if you think they're mispriced. T-Law and the Jags have made them all great values. Yeah, I think Trevor is a great priced player. I do prefer Jaden Daniels versus him in fantasy, but I'll probably take Trevor just for the stack if he's there. Yeah, I'm really into Trevor, who I do think, like, Trevor's got more mobility than like a Tua, right? He reaches over the line. Yeah, same thing with Xavier Legette. Like, his ADP is like 150. I think Herbert is a great ADP as well. This guy's got 2 quarterbacks on our inside, so no need to take quarterback here. I think it is time to take a running back. I like a couple of them, but I do think Singletary is a winner of the draft. They did add a running back, the Giants, that is, in the 5th round, Tyron Tracy. They added Eric Gray last year. I think Matt Breida's still on the team, but let me check that because he's old. Matt Breida's like 32 now. That's like my age, man. No, Matt Breida's not on the team. So I don't know. Maybe Eric Gray's one, the 2. Maybe Tyron Tracy's the 2. I would gamble on Tyron of the 2 of them, mostly because Eric Gray didn't do anything last year. But Singletary, we know he has the Brian Dable connection. He's not exciting, but I don't mind kind of teams I think are not going to be as good, such as the Singletaries of the world, when I do or the Giants of the world when I do draft running backs. I think here the responsible thing to do is to just take Trevor. We are double stacked. It's not my favorite thing to do to take another mid-round quarterback, but there's enough running back values currently that we can afford the quote-unquote detour. Chris, welcome back, man. What if 4-3-5-6 is what you need? He's saying 4 quarterbacks, 3 running backs, 5 wideouts, 6 tight ends. Well, then good luck to that individual. Is what I would say. I will have like a best ball 101 article in my, because a lot of my best ball content is going to be more advanced concepts, just because I feel like most people who follow me probably got the basics down. But I will have some like introductory and 101 articles for the more new players and whatnot. And yeah, structure will be one of those tried and true structures. This one's not going to make it. If you want to become a YouTube member like Bindles, make sure you do that. You will get access to a special Discord to talk ball with me. So we're clearly done at quarterback. I'm done at tight end too. Going Kincaid and Ingram, Josh and Trevor. I really quite like to build drafts like this at the current climate, just allowing me to take many bullets at running back and wideout. We have 3 wideouts who I know are going to be good fantasy assets. 2 who might be, like at least one of these guys will probably emerge. And so, yeah, it just kind of lets you build out. Obviously going to be going heavier on running back quantity with maybe 2 to 3 wide receivers added. And this is when champions are made, right? This is how I won Best Ball Mania 2, hitting value in the later rounds. I believe Underdog is planning to release their big dog and their eliminator. And Chris is asking, would it be dumb to do eliminator right now since we don't know buys? I don't agree with that fully. The eliminator final size is so big that I would say just, if you want to save the bulk of yours until you know the NFL schedule and buys, that's fine. But in general, I think it's okay to get a couple in now. By the way, this build I really don't like by Toasty Ace. First off, he's got 8 wide receivers, but he spent a lot of draft capital on it, and he's reached on a lot of players who I think actually will be good fantasy assets. Where I think like Ladd is a smash in fantasy. Coleman, the opportunity will be there potentially. Ricky, we'll see. Mitchell should be the wide receiver too, maybe at least have some spikes. Brian Thomas has probably got the inside role at the wideout too. But you don't need 8 wide receivers when you start your draft with all wideouts, is the point. Slope's kind of built like that too. So most likely we will be double tapping running back at this turn, unless there's a wide receiver I really like, which there are some. Right, Brandon Cooks, 8 touchdowns last year. He could do something similar this year. Zach Charbonnet is right back to his same cost from last year, which is kind of funny. Gus Edwards would have been a steal there. Unfortunately, we didn't get him. I am going to take, we'll take Jerome Ford with this first pick. I think it's really hard to sort through the Browns running back room, and I'm going to have a separate article just on ambiguous situations. I will be I think I'll just try to get some of all of them, right? Like even Chubb, who's generally the most expensive, I'll try to get to 8% on, and preferably I'll get my Chubb exposure when he falls. I feel the same thing about the Miami running back room, who, by the way, I think Wright is mispriced in the sense that I feel like he's too high right now, where to me, clearly Mostert and Achane will be the 1 and 2 there. And they won't share the ball that much until one of them gets hurt, which is pretty likely, and then Wright will see the field. So that's why I think all 3 are draftable. I went forward in Marshawn Lloyd. Marshawn Lloyd, the RB4 in the draft, got 3rd-round draft capital. RB2 behind Josh Jacobs, a guy who has had his fair share of touches, a really valuable situation if he sees touches. Kind of combos well with a Ford pick where maybe Ford does, if Chubb is 100%, maybe Ford does see the rock less as the year goes. And Lloyd should kind of see the rock more as the year goes. A.J. Dillon exists, brother. I don't know how to tell you this, but the A.J. Dillon era is over. A.J. Dillon is just not good. Taysom Hill is a quarterback on underdog, which is a gift, right? Like, we don't want to be fooling around with this. He's a quarterback on underdog. He's a quarterback on FFPC. Although we know the FFPC does whatever the hell it wants later in the year. And then he is a tight end on drafters. So you want your Taysom Hill shares? You like your total points? Head on over to drafters. Man, it feels good, guys. It feels good. I'm excited to draft. You know, we need that break. We need that break between the NFL season and whatnot. Need more Bills for something like a drafters. I probably would not recommend building a ton of teams like this. For a playoff format, it can definitely work, especially for a room. You know, like teams that I think it can work for are teams like the Bengals, teams like the Packers, teams like the Bills. The Bills and the Packers have more of an ambiguous wide receiver rotation, where the Bengals, you know, they just run a lot of 3 wide receiver. They all seem pretty good, so I wouldn't mind tripling up there. The quarterback is too cheap. Javon Baker of the Patriots seems to have a high ceiling if he hits. The question is, will he hit? I think Darnell Mooney is a guy I liked pre-draft, and I still like him. We prefer probably a healthy Kirk Cousins to be the quarterback for him. But, you know, behind Pitts and London, he should be the 3rd target there, I would think. And he was really good a couple years ago and then was terrible last year. So I'm just kind of hoping he can rebound. 3rd target for a Kirk Cousins offense, that's valuable, right? That's Jordan Addison or TJ Hawkinson, depending on your opinion. Last year. J.K. Dobbins, pick 162. I don't know about that. Zeke and Rico both going as 13th and 14th. I prefer the Rico side there as it currently stands. But both, again, I think the Cowboys could trade like a conditional 7th round pick and for Miles Sanders if the Panthers would eat some salary. I think the Bears probably will try to get rid of one of Khalil Herbert or one of their running backs. I think Algier is a great pick here. RB2 behind Bijan. In some ways, we're paying for safety for the fact that we know that Algier is the RB2, which, there are other RB2s who are a little bit more ambiguous. But in the other ways, like we've seen Algier get the rock and not need an injury to Bijan for that to happen. Thank you, Spurious. I think our next pick here. Yeah, I think Ray Davis is significantly mispriced. I don't know. Would he have been there around later? Maybe. We added the Buffalo stack. I'm expecting, James Cook is not a big guy, and Ray Davis is. It's possible he does not become the RB2 with Ty Johnson there. Ty Johnson, I think, excelled in a short yardage role. Frank Gore Jr. also signed with the Bills as a conditional or undrafted free agent, where Frank Gore Sr. played with the Bills Devin Singletary's rookie year. So no stranger to the Bills in that way. But Ray Davis, he to me seems like he can do what Latavius Murray did. He can do what Ty Johnson did, but he actually has some wiggle to him too. So I think he's a great value in drafts right now. And this is why, there's two trains of thoughts for drafting early as far as like what's optimal. One thought is, I want to get my running backs early because I feel like I know these guys have roles, and I'm really not sure about some of these other guys who could be the Tank Bigsby of the world. The other thought is chaos is going to happen. Everyone's kind of a coward, so they don't want to take a shot on these ambiguous situations. So they just don't even draft the Rams backup running back or maybe the RB2 in Kyron Williams or Zach Evans because they don't know, so they just don't do anything. And therefore, I'm not a coward. I'm trying to win $1.5 million. So I'm going to take a shot and take some stands and risk my 25. That was something that other people would say a lot last year, which I thought was flat out nonsense. Is guys, you can't risk a zero late in drafts. I mean, obviously, taking a player that contributes 0 points is not good for your team. However, if you take a player who has an outsized return and you hit on a Kyron Williams, on a Puka Nacua, that's what wins you these contests, right? So, yes, you should be taking quote-unquote risk on players you're not 100% sure who will be playing. So we do have a 2-6-5-2 so far. Josh Allen, Trevor Lawrence, David Montgomery, Devin Singletary, Jerome Ford, Marshawn Lloyd, Tyler Algier, Ray Davis, CeeDee Lamb, Nico, Christian Kirk, Curtis Samuel, Khalil Shakir, Nico Collins, that is, Dalton Kincaid, Evan Ingram. 3 more picks left to play with. And probably gonna go double wideout right here. I think Parker Washington would have been an interesting stab for the Jags in best ball. And he still is in theory because I think he's the direct backup to Christian Kirk. So I won't be taking him for this draft. But if Christian Kirk were to get hurt, I do think Parker Washington plays the slot there. Of course, I'm not an amateur. I'm not going to put players into my queue here. think I'll take Demarcus Robinson, who, look, could Demarcus Robinson do what Puka Nacua did last year? AKA, could he have like a huge outsized return? Almost certainly not. However, he does seem to be the clear wide receiver 3 for the Rams, and attached to Matt Stafford, that can be 4 to 7 touchdowns in a good year for him. So pretty confident he will be giving me points in general. Man, Alec Pierce. I think we'll take Luke McCaffrey, Christian McCaffrey's brother. To me, he is the wide receiver 2 or 3 for the Commanders. How valuable will that be in the Jaden Daniels offense? I don't know. Is it possible that also the wide receiver 2/3 is behind their tight end in the pecking order? Yes. So a quote unquote risky selection. He did draw unsuspected 3rd round draft capital, however. That's what I just talked about, Spurious. Do I think he gets more target share than Ben Sinnott? I don't know, right? If I had to bet, I'd probably bet Sinnott gets a little bit more there, but I do think, I mean, the dude got 3rd round draft capital. I'm betting on a 3rd round rookie with my 17th pick, which I also think is a good, like DeMarcus, I'm very confident he'll be around 100 fantasy points, probably in a bad year, right? Luke could give me 20 fantasy points, could give me 150. So, wide range on him. With this last pick, I think running back and wide receiver are both fine. Trying to decide which room is a little weaker. Right? Like if I hit on my running backs, if I hit on Ford, if I hit on Lloyd, if I hit on Ray, my running back room actually seems pretty fine, right? Getting points from David, getting points from Singletary, definitely getting some production from Ford and Algier. If I didn't, though, a 7th bullet there could really be beneficial. Same thing with the wideout room, right? Like Lamb for sure, production, Nico production, Kirk production. I'm definitely getting points out of Curtis and Khalil. And I like to think at least one of them is giving me 150-ish. And the other one maybe 100. And then DeMarcus around 100. So I think I actually will throw it in wideout. Now, the running back I was going to take, I don't think anyone would have named. So maybe it's not the worst thing I don't draft him, right? Luke McCaffrey doesn't have an ADP and doesn't get drafted a lot. The AC is broken in my house, and I live in Florida, so it's kind of brutal right now, but I do it for you guys. Johnny Wilson, an interesting stab. Almost certainly would need an injury. There's a bunch of guys who haven't signed to teams yet either. Guys like Tyler Boyd, Michael Thomas, Michael Gallup, Odell Beckham. So there are some guys who are going to either, I don't know, fade from existence or perhaps put a cold shower on some players. I think Daniel Jones is a solid pick in best ball. He has risk for sure. I think we'll go Greg Dortch. Oh man, his production's been so blah. But whatever. In theory, he is the wideout 3 for the Cardinals. He's shown a connection with Kyler. Did you hear the Jarvis Landry news? I did. Jarvis Landry, at the age of 31, is participating in rookie mini camp with the Jags. So maybe that guy turns out. In general, I wouldn't recommend you draft a bunch of Odells and whatnot of the world. Let's name this bad boy. For those curious how to do that, you click the I. Nope. You click the I on the team. You click the edit button. For me, number 3, 429, opening day. I like to name them and add the date just to look back. It's also helpful if you do get a team canceled due to a collusion check and you have no idea which team it was. You could kind of look back and be like, oh, I lost number 8 or whatever. So finishing up that team, Josh Allen, Trevor Lawrence. Again, the Trevor pick is not something I would recommend you do a lot with elite quarterback, but with me having Kirk and Ingram, why not? David Montgomery, Devin Singletary, Jerome Ford, Marshawn Lloyd, Tyler Algier, Ray Davis, CeeDee Lamb, Nico Collins, Christian Kirk, Curtis Samuel, Khalil Shakir, Demarcus Robinson, Luke McCaffrey, Greg Dortch, Dalton Kincaid, Evan Ingram. Should I do a second draft, gang? Let me see. How many likes do I got on this video? I got 24 likes. There's at least 100 people watching. If we can get that like count up to 40 likes in the next couple minutes, I'll do another draft. Otherwise, I'm going to the gym. We're at 30. 40 is not even that much, right? I'm only asking 16 of you. And if you want to subscribe, I'm on the road to 5K. We'll update that. And I might as well show you guys number 1 here. Why not? Not going to post it to Twitter like others. Let's see. What are we at? Wow, we're already at 40. Okay. We'll show you number 1, though. First one I did, I got a Dak and Jaden Daniels team with James Cook, Jonathan Brooks, Devin Singletary, Ray Davis, Bucky Irving, and Evan Hull. CeeDee Lamb, Chris Olave, Mike Evans, DeAndre Hopkins, Ricky Pearsall. See, I got Pearsall and Leggett at picks 143 and 146, and we saw the other guy in our draft took him at picks 100. Luke McCaffrey, Jalen McMillan, and then a Kincaid Kittle team. All right. Let's get back in there. I might have to actually join on my phone. I don't know why it does this, but it does. All right, gang. For you, I mean, I almost have to, right? The first draft of the year, we got to rip a double here. Thank you for liking the video. Appreciate you, proper. You hate my running backs? Hood. You'll learn to love them. We're drafting next to the Detroit Lions. Dan Campbell himself is in here with us. At the 103. And the spam texts I get are getting weirder and weirder. Better to draft 2 or 3 quarterbacks. That will be touched on in my structure article, but I'm generally more of a proponent of 2 quarterbacks, but obviously it depends when you invest the draft capital. If you don't take your first quarterback until round 13, I'd go 3 there. Puka Nacua is wide receiver number 3. Don't know if I'd put him that high, but I am very into Puka this year. Again, if you're just checking in here, please do hit the subscribe button. We are on the road to 5K. Make sure you join my Discord. The link to join is in the YouTube description below. And my best ball site was going to be launched today, but unfortunately I clicked the wrong button on my payment provider, which made them shut down my account. So now they have to review that. So I got to fix that. And then I can release the best ball site, including a free article on a pretty cool one to start the year. All right, we're going Jamar Chase, 103. My 101 last year, which worked out until he got hurt. He's facing target competition from T. Higgins, not a separator, not the most impressive target competition in my opinion, even though he's a fine wideout. He's obviously a good player. Tyler Boyd's out of there, added a rookie. They got guys like Mike Gesicki and gang. So, yeah, love Jamar. Tyreek, you can't deny the upside. I would argue he has the highest weekly ceiling of any player. He's getting older, though. I think he's 30 this year. So Tyreek is like a Kyren Williams where there is risk for that player, right? If Tyreek loses a step, there's no shortage of speed on his team. However, his upside, if he doesn't, is huge. Andrew's saying, I feel like there's something wrong with the mic. There's a huge echo. That is a really big bummer if I've been doing that. I'm going to press the button on my mic, and I want everyone to let me know, did it get better? Did it get worse? Is this better or is this worse? Proper saying is good for him. Is this better or worse? One of the buttons is supposed to be for if I'm not speaking into the mic, and the other one is not. I'm getting a better. Turn down. I don't have the ability to turn down. Worse? Oh, wait, better. Need to turn down the volume. How about I just move it away? I'm moving it away from me. How about that? How's this? It only took us an hour into the stream, and we are learning that our audio quality was terrible. Welcome, gang. My recommendation, if you're watching this on YouTube, just turn it down. Turn it down on your end. Yeah, I was probably just too close to the mic. It's my first stream of the year. Come on now. Marvin Harrison Jr. is a guy I want to be all over on. I feel like that's the right price on him. Yeah, Andrew, guys, and everyone else out there, don't suffer in silence, right? I'm sure there was 5 other people who are like, this audio is trash, and only Andrew spoke up. Might be getting an auto drafter next to us. It's a bummer. I went Nico last time. Let's go Malik Neighbors. Many people comp him to Jamar Chase. And so Jamar and Jamar the second sounds pretty good to me. Kelsey in the 4th is great value, I feel like. Yeah, I mean, I think Kelsey is a tough eval. On one sense, I full faded Kelsey last year in the 1st, which was a great thing to do, right? He was a terrible first-round pick last year in fantasy. I also full faded Austin Eckler. So my fades last year, my first round fades historically have been really good. I faded Kelsey and Eckler last year. I full faded Zeke, Kamara, and Derrick Henry in Best Ball Mania 3, where Zeke and Kamara just flat out busted and Derrick Henry got hurt. So that was a little bit more lucky. All right, let's take Cooper Kupp here. We're going to reach to get unique. Cooper Kupp by ADP almost always goes at the end of the 2-3 turn. My first article is on comboing. And so I'm going to take him at the third round, which, I mean, we know Cooper Kupp is a stud if he produces. We just don't know, if he's going to hold up over the season or is he going to slow down, whatever. I'm swinging for upside. I'm swinging for uniqueness. I do think Olave is a good pick. I do think a lot of these guys are good picks, but we're trying to get a little unique. We're trying to play game theory to win this contest. But yeah, so Kelsey is a tough eval because in some ways I agree with you, right? Like I think you could take Kelsey in the second and the third. If he produces like he does in the playoffs, dude is a smash. If he does what he did last year, which is doesn't really play in the he did play in the regular season, but wasn't a regular fantasy producer and turned it on for the playoffs, the real playoffs. That doesn't help us in best ball. The other thing about Kelsey is last year he was competing with touches with rookie Rashee Rice, MBS, Sky Moore, Justin Watson, some terrible players. Now he's competing for touches with second-year Rashee Rice, probably, Hollywood Brown, Xavier Worthy. So I think the Chiefs' offense got a lot better, which raises, I think that makes Mahomes a better pick. And Kelsey probably is the favorite to be the top fantasy scorer there, but yeah, there's risk there for downside in a crowded room. What was your Puka / Kyron exposure last BBM? Well, it's not a perfect question because when you draft matters a lot, but towards the end of the season, I took Kyron in literally every draft I could, but I'd done a lot of drafts early, and that's what one of my article about drafting early is kind of about, that phenomenon. But I ended up with 25% Kyron Williams. If I had done all my drafts in August, I probably would have had 75% Kyron Williams. Puka Nacua, I didn't draft other than like a handful of times. That was a miss for sure for me and many people. And Puka, again, didn't get drafted until Cooper Kupp got hurt. So if Cooper Kupp didn't get hurt in the offseason, Puka's draft percentage would have been like 5 to 10%. Jim saying, reaching for unique combos on day one. Love to see it. Yeah, I mean, I think, my article about combos states that this is easier to do later in the summer when we have more information. But there's really nothing, like, just thinking about this market, like, I highly doubt Kupp is going to climb to the 2-3 turn and a guy like Olave is going to fall to the 2-3, right? And I doubt Neighbors is going to ever fall to the 2. Or fall to the end of the 3 or climb to the 2. Chase is locked at the top of the draft. So I'm fairly confident this will give me some uniqueness from the get-go. Which, if you're confused about that, I have a free article. It will be the first thing on my site as soon as I can get my site working. I still think underdogs should prioritize giving me a crown and the other best ball Mania champions and or tournament winners, right? Like, come on. These guys got like some headbands, but you can't give me a crown? What's going on? Who do you think the Patriots' best pass catcher will be in fantasy this year, and why will Pop Douglas be league winner? I don't think the landing spot, or I don't think the draft was great for Pop, right? Like Demario Douglas, because they drafted a bunch of wide receivers. I think it's a crowded room. I think Hunter Henry could feasibly be the number one guy as far as fantasy points scored. Let's take Trey McBride. I really do like the elite tight ends this year. Trey McBride is target number 2 to me. And I think Joe Burrow and Kyler are 2 of the most mispriced quarterbacks in fantasy as far as guys who offer elite potential but are not quite priced that way. Greg, I don't know how to tell you this, but when I won Best Ball Mania, I emailed Underdog and asked them for a ring. They didn't send me it until I asked them for one. They only sent rings to the people who won playoff contests. And I was like, hey, could I get like one of those $5 rings? And they're like, sure. But now I have made that, I think, a thing they do going forward. I think they just send the ring now. Did I max out the big board? I did not. I got 48 entries in. I was planning to do 50. You know, for my EV, would I like the max? Sure. But for my sanity and just preparing for draft season, I wasn't in the mood. So I like the whiteouts here. I like Kincaid. I do think Andrews has some risk. Let's go again, double tight end. McBride, Kincaid, Laporta, McBride, Laporta, Kincaid, Kelsey, McBride. All those are combos I want and am comfortable with. Typically, this puts you behind the 8 ball at wideout, but in theory, I mean, Chase, Cup, Malik Neighbors, I should be cooking at wideout if I get my ceiling outcomes. Am I entering a similar structure of tournaments as last year, like the higher buy-in ones? I'll definitely be entering some higher buy-in ones. I don't know how many this year. We'll see. It kind of depends on the payout structure. I thought the payout structure for like the DK 555 was terrible. Where if you didn't get like, basically if you didn't get like second place in the contest and you did any volume of drafts, you were losing money. So that's tough. Underdog, big dog, should be here soon, which I think has an interesting payout structure. Might even be here in the lobby. Let's look. It is not. But I think they said they're going to release it today, which usually they do not release their high stakes buy-ins until August. So that's definitely a change where Underdog is not just letting DraftKings have the high buy-ins early. And I like that. Welcome, Joey. Welcome. It's kind of confusing to me. Like, why is Kittle in the 70s? People hate the best ball king himself, Kittle? He'll go as far as like the 7th round. Pitts is also a guy I like a lot. Where, I mean, Pitts versus Kincaid, they're gonna win in different ways, right? I feel like Pitts having a good fantasy season is him getting a bunch of like downfield targets and converting some touchdowns. Whereas Kincaid, I think, is a safer bet for volume. And I don't think his average depth of target will be as deep necessarily, although it was much like anyone who's citing Kincaid's ADOT on the season and is not kind of like splitting it from like the first half to the second half, I think is doing a little bit of a disservice to like the truth, where his like ADOT to start the season was like 1 to 3, and then he opened it up. Pitts, the big thing is like his injury, right? Like, is he fully back from that? And Mark Andrews, I mean, the man had tightrope surgery, so I think reports on that have been typically good. But that's a scary surgery. That's the Tony Pollard surgery. And he suffered it later in the year than Tony did the year before. Okay. So this guy did not take neither of these guys. They both have quarterbacks, and they didn't take T. Higgins. So I'm not going to take Joe Burrow. Except I am, because I don't know. They're watching my stream. I don't think it's likely they take him, but I really want Joe. I think Joe is mispriced. None of these guys really like move the needle enough for me where I'm like, if I don't get these guys, I'm going to regret it. Typically, though, in this situation where you're not necessarily competing with a stack partner, both your guys already spent draft capital on elite quarterback, you can push your quarterback to the next pick. Had to hop in a slow BBM, Joey, that will feel so good in a month when that's finished. Just kidding, man. Okay. Yeah, I think Montgomery's a solid pick. Mostert, Watson. Let's just double tap quarterback, because I don't think it's likely Kyler makes it back, and just be done. We got Chase. We got McBride. We got Joe. We got Kyler. Done with our tight ends. Done with our quarterbacks. Time to build out the wideouts and running backs. These structures will always be unique. People just typically don't do double expensive quarterback. They don't do double expensive tight end. They definitely don't do it combined. It's counterintuitive, so helps with the uniqueness a little bit as well. But the buys, oh my God. It took us an hour and 12 minutes, but we finally got buy discussion brought up. If you're new around here, I don't care about the buys. I think Ramondre is a solid pick. We do see Xavier Worthy go here. Not with Mahomes, though. Yeah, these early drafts, if you're doing them, are going to see a lot of variance as far as where the rookies go until ADP updates. I wonder how filled Best Ball Mania is right now. 3688. 3688 divided by 12. 307 drafts so far. The contest launched at 1 p.m. Eastern. It's 4 p.m. Eastern. So averaging about 100 drafts an hour. I'll put that tweet out. What's your thoughts on the Vikings offense being a fade? Is that your opinion or what people are saying? I don't think the Vikings offense is being faded by the market. Justin Jefferson goes comfortably within the top 7 picks. TJ Hawkinson was injured. Otherwise, he would go higher. Jordan Addison still goes as a 6th-round pick. If you're asking for yourself, I think he's okay. I wouldn't fade them. I think that division is going to be very good. Could have some shootouts there. Let's push running back. This time we will get Keon Coleman. Maybe a little early, but we'll swing at the upside of Coleman versus the safety of a Curtis Samuel. Yeah, I think that's a good thing to check in with yourself on. I'm a Vikings fan and habitually overdraft them. Stop doing that then. Find a system, whether that is this draft, you're just not taking Vikings, or you're only going to take them past ADP, whatever it is. But at the same time, if you're playing for fun, it's okay to go in with that kind of strategy. So we have 2 Bills players, so we don't want to take a Curtis. Yeah, Jaylen Warren, he was in on my winning DraftKings 555 team. This is a bit of a discount from where he usually goes. I coined him as 90% Austin Eckler last year. Still an explosive player, whereas Najee Harris is comfortably not. The Steelers invested a lot on their O-line. So the Steelers O-line really improved, I feel like, in the draft. So solid pick to add as our RB1. Mike Williams seems like nice value here. Yeah, he was a guy I was considering. Mike Williams obviously has upside. And I personally am in on the Jets offense as far as like teams I'm willing to take in best ball. I'm not trying to go like 100% on them or anything, but I will draft Aaron Rodgers. I will draft the Jets players, Mike Williams included. I'm not afraid of the downside. And I think Mike Williams in his upside seasons has huge upside. 10 touchdowns type of upside, 1,000+ yards, as the number 2 for the Jets. His downside is obviously he's injured again, or he's not recovered, or Malachi Corley supplants him in the offense, etc. Are you at all concerned that Daniel Jones won't give Neighbors the volume to live up to his current price? Not really, because I think the Giants team, like as far as like playmakers or like guys you could run the offense through, who is that other than Malik Neighbors, right? Like Singletary is a fine guy. He can make a guy miss, but he is not explosive, right? He's not fast, so he's not going to like get down the field. You have guys like Darius Slayton, Hyatt, who are deep A-dot guys generally, and yeah, whatever, they'll get some bombs. You have a Wan'Dale Robinson who can kind of work the middle of the field, but I expect the offense to be primarily ran through Malik as far as like getting them first downs, keeping them in the game, keeping them on schedule. Thoughts on Stroud Price? In some ways he's expensive Joe Burrow, right? He's the expensive pocket passing guy, but I get it, right? Like I get why he's there. We love all his weapons. He's a certified stud as a real life quarterback. So I'm fine with it when you take Texans players. I don't think the market's going to like, if the market's going to significantly discount him eventually, okay, great. But I doubt they are. Okay. Let's take the Gus bus. How we're expecting the Chargers to kind of run their offense should be a very valuable role. Is he a lock to hold down the RB1? No. right? J.K. Dobbins could get better. They got Kamani Vidal in there. Maybe Isaiah Spiller develops. But should be the goal line back at worst. Probably has 8 to 10 touchdowns in him. I didn't really want to take another bill here, but the running backs, actually, we will take a running back. Now, wide receiver gets so ugly. Let's take Khalil. Boo-hoo, we got 3 bills, but Khalil, I'm comfortable is going to have some games. I'm comfortable guys like Rashid Shaheed's going to have some games. Pretty soon, the comfortability of your guys hitting spike weeks is not as much there. Yeah, I mean, Dobbins seems like pretty overpriced on Underdog, where he's kind of priced as just like, yep, he's gonna be playing football. Which I mean, we don't really know that. Where is he priced at? But yeah, Greg Roman brought in his guys. Dobbins obviously has incredible upside if he is healthy. It's a situation to monitor, I would say. It's not a situation to get crazy overweight on early in the draft cycle. Seen a run on quarterbacks. Wow, Brees Hall went all the way at the 111. Some people have him as high as 102, 103, 104. I do think the upside is there for him, but yeah, I just think structurally you do want to be building your wide receiver rooms out. Have you had a strategy of stacking teams with terrible defense? That's going to be one of my articles, actually. I have 20 or so articles I've jotted down to write, and one of them is going to be kind of investigating that. A 1-6-3-1. Let's see what this is. AJ Brown, Devontae, is this guy auto drafting too? Does he take Tua here? If he does, I would say yes. Okay, yeah, he's auto drafting. So he's got AJ Brown, Money Mitchell, AJ Brown, Devontae Adams, Derrick Henry, ETN, Kyle Pitts, Terry McLaurin, Mostert, Swift, Eckler, Moss, Kirk, and Tua. I'm gonna help you guys out with this. If you watched this far, if you go into rankings and you click NFL, click limits here, and change your limits. The default is something like 4 QBs. It's nonsensical. So change your limits. I have in 2-6-8-3 right now, which is obviously more than 18 players. So sometimes it will give me 3 tight ends. Sometimes it will give me 2 tight ends, which if I do happen to fall asleep on an auto draft is something I want. Because, if I don't get an elite tight end, I want those 3 tight ends. And so when you go over your positional limits, obviously it will just not, one of them won't be maxed. But it is important that if you set a positional limit, that you then do not auto a pick. I'll explain that further in a second. So again, go Marshawn Lloyd. I love the upside potential there. What I mean by that is if my positional limit is 2 QBs, but I have Drake May in my queue, and I just let it auto down, it will not give me Drake May. Although maybe they fixed that. That's how it used to be, and I think it was a bug. They might have fixed that so that your queue overrides your limits, which honestly, hopefully they did, because that's logical. Arthur Smith has dreams about running backs like Warren. Yeah, I mean, it's a pretty good price on Warren. I'm not like, I would draft a Najee as just like a hope he gets like touchdowns, right? He's kind of like, I guess, better Gus Edwards. But yeah. Okay, might as well. I would say my team needs running back more, but we'll get some more later. Let's take Michael Wilson, add to the Kyler stack. Michael Wilson should be the third target in Arizona, the wide receiver 2. Probably going to make this a 2-7-7-2. I think Ty Chandler is still a fine pick in best ball. Clearly the RB2, but is the RB2 to me. Roman Wilson is a guy I would have been really into if he landed in the right spot. Just don't think the Steelers is that spot. Ben Sinnott at pick in the 13th round. I mean, he might get there, but you can get Ben Sinnott in the 18th round if you are patient, for sure. Not stacked with Jaden Daniels either. And that's kind of like the wild card of these day ones, right? Like, some people don't remember the rookies, so they're just kind of like, they don't start looking at rookies until the 16th round. Other people know about the rookies like me and are trying not to overpay always, so that like my drafts right now are actually unique. Other people are like, hey, I know about these rookies. I know they're going to get up here. I'm going to take them now. So they're the reason the ADPs are really climbing. I would recommend, even though it won't feel good, if you like, if this guy wanted Ben Sinnott and Ben Sinnott goes in whatever, the 15th round to me, that won't feel good. But it's a second tight end. But I would say more often than not, you're going to get that guy later. Unless it's unless you've done some drafts and you notice like I can tell you right now, it won't be wise to wait on Xavier Worthy. If you really want Xavier Worthy, that's a guy you go get. If you really want Ladd McConkey, go get that guy. The game within the game. It's auto drafter, man. It's not really clear to me why Algier is as cheap as some of these guys. We're gonna take Algier and be pretty happy about that as our RB4. Jaleel McLaughlin is someone I draft sometimes. I want to be into him, but because he's fast. But the Broncos added Audric Estime, and they still have Samaje Perine. Like, that running back room is kind of a mess. And Javonte Williams is fully healthy now. Yeah. I mean, the Broncos depth chart has McLaughlin as RB4, meaning after Estime. So it just feels kind of crowded, right? Like, he could hit for sure, but I don't know. All right. So running backs is what I'm going to be doing with most of my picks, but we are going to reach around on Jermaine Burton, which, I mean, look at the 15th round, it doesn't really matter much. I'm reaching a round. He usually his ADP is the 16th, but I want another stack with Joe. It's definitely not 100% that Burton wins the wide receiver 3 job. He did draw 3rd round draft capital out of Alabama. He seems to be an athletic freak. But they did take Charlie Jones in the 5th last year. Let's see, actually, I could tell you. They took Charlie Jones in the 4th, who I kind of thought he would be the replacement for Tyler Boyd. And then they took Andre Isovius in the 6th. So in the big board, I really like Charlie Jones because everyone was drafting Isovius, but Jones was hurt last year. And so that's why he didn't see the field until the end. And Tyler Boyd is out of there. So maybe all Burton is a future plan for T. Higgins. Or maybe they actually will trade T. Higgins still. And Burton is the plan for the 2 right now. Or maybe Burton will play slot. I don't know. The Jets running back room is a team like the Broncos, but worse, where they already have Breece Hall. They already have Israel Abanikanda, who I thought was like a great pick in the big board. But then they took Braylon Allen in the 4th, which opinions are mixed on him. He is a big guy, but people have said he's not the best goal line guy. And also, Breece is so explosive that, like, he scores enough of times outside of the goal line. But then they also took Isaiah Davis in the 5th, who quite a people liked as well. So that is not that's not great. So that's a running back room where I think it's fine to take stabs on, but it's also okay to wait for more info. So yeah, with these last 3 picks, we'll be adding to our running back room. I love the Joan Kyler combo. Did they get rid of regular season payouts? Yeah, we talked about structure to start the show, but I didn't really get a touch on that. They did. And I think it's a good change. Last year, my biggest gripe with their format, which I thought was just like poorly thought out, was that they paid $2.5 million to regular season payouts for people who finished 1,000th to 10,000th. Let me say that again. Top 1,000 or top 10,000 in their contest. And we will take Bucky Irving here. And they paid him out $250 a piece, which is like, look, if you're a person who doesn't do a bunch of drafts, I'm sure you are happy you got $250. Or even if you do a bunch of drafts, you're probably like, okay, great, I got $250. But $250 is not changing anyone's life. And I really don't think the amount of people who draft a good regular season team and then quit best ball altogether because they get bounced in the playoffs is that high, right? Like, I think people get it. And so getting rid of that was a priority. I thought all that money should have been redistributed to the finals. I would have been okay with a small amount of money being paid to the regular season. I don't know what's appropriate. But I think this is the best structure they've ever had. Understand the goal. Get a team to week 17 and do well there. and you will make money this year. And if you don't, you won't. All right, let's go. Let's go Will Shipley. Hoping he'll be the Eagles running back 2. Went in the 4th round of the NFL draft. Kenneth Gainwell's still there, but he was a guy people were pretty high on. So that's the gamble there. A 9.58 RAS. So athletic freak. And Saquon is no spring chicken. Bucky Irving, on the other hand, this is not good. This is fine, actually. Bucky Irving and Will, both of these guys are not guaranteed to be the RB2s on their own teams. Can't wait to try to memorize week 15, 16, 17 matchups. Hell yeah, brother. You're in a safe place for that. Keaton Mitchell, man, I want to be in on him, but the injury they added to their room, I don't know. I like the Justin Fields pick. So we're going to get one more pick here, but so far we got a Joe Burrow, Kyler Murray team. Jalen Warren, Gus Edwards, Marshawn Lloyd, Tyler Algier, Bucky Irving, Will Shipley at running back. Jamar Chase, Malik Neighbors, Cooper Kupp, Keon Coleman, Khalil Shakir, Michael Wilson, Jermaine Burton at wideout, Trey McBride, and Dalton Kincaid. I would say this wide receiver room is a little thinner than most people would be comfortable only going 7 with. But, you just got to trust that you hit on some of these players, because I definitely want the extra bodies at running back, right? Tight end, I'm solid at. QB, I'm solid at. Chase, solid. Kupp, solid. Neighbors, I think is pretty solid, but technically not. Between Coleman and Shakir, should have one strong fantasy producer out of there, if not both, being guys who give you weeks. Michael Wilson, he should have a couple touchdowns this year, a couple games. Jermaine Burton, hopefully the same. And both of them are stacked. And then running backs, I mean, look, RB2 hopefully in Green Bay, RB2 hopefully in Tampa, RB2 hopefully in Philly, RB2 hopefully in Atlanta, RB1 for the Chargers, RB1A/B for the Steelers. So some of these guys could Tank Bigsby it. Other of them could Kyron Williams it. Khalil Shakir, top 10 season incoming. Yeah, man. I mean, part of me wanted to put Shakir as wideout 1 in the room. It's not that crazy, but it's probably not what's going to happen. Rabana King, who is Rax on my Discord, was all about Zach Wilson landing with the Broncos. You can get the Broncos starter in round 18, though. I wasn't going to take Estime, but just by ADP, I don't think I wasn't going to take him just because I don't love the crowded room, but I don't think I'm going to be able to get him in the 18th round for much more. So, yeah, we're going to take him because of that. And look, if 2 of these rookie running backs hit in a big way, then that's a success. Let's rename this. So to recap that team, it is a Joe Burrow, Kyler Murray team with Jalen Warren, Gus Edwards, Tyler Algier, and then 4 rookie running backs: Marshawn Lloyd, Bucky Irving, Will Shipley, Audric Estime. Everyone says this running back class sucks. I think a lot of them landed in pretty decent situations. Jamar Chase, Malik Neighbors, Cooper Kupp, Keon Coleman, Khalil Shakir, Michael Wilson, Jermaine Burton. So rookie-heavy draft. And then Trey McBride and Dalton Kincaid, double elite tight end. All right, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in for this first draft. Stay tuned. Make sure you hit the subscribe. I'm going to try to come out with a more reliable schedule so that people will know the time to tune into my drafts. Let me know if you're more of a nighttime draft person, more of a daytime. I think I'll do a mix of both. Again, I really hope to have my fantasy site launched soon as my payment processor works out. If you want to take a peek, I will have a free article up. Of course, I'll have the best rankings in the business. Please make sure you like and subscribe to the video. And when this stream ends, if at least 10 of you from the 100 watching right now could just refresh the stream, leave a comment. It all helps. Thank you, guys. Good luck drafting. Let's have a great summer.